Okay, today's video we're going to talk about how to beat bigger companies than you that are doing PPC that seem to be at the top of Google, have unlimited budgets or seems like it, what you can do to break into Google Ads, also social media for people that are just blasting their social media ads, and you're halfway jealous of the people that you're competing against that are doing it. How no matter how big they are, how much money they have, how much money you think they have, how you can beat them no matter what, and it isn't as precarious of a situation as you might think. So I'm going to go through in today's video how to beat them, why they're not unbeatable, and from there just put into perspective the whole situation, what PPC is about, and why it's not about what resources you come to the table with, but what you're willing to do to actually put yourself into position to win. If you have more money, you can be stupid with your ads and you can spend a lot and make some money anyway. You can have little money, but you work your ass off and you'll make good money anyway. So depending if you got money or time, you put yourself in position to win. It's up to you more than anything else, whether you make a ton of money with PPC and are profitable with your ads or not, which I'll put into frame of reference very well for you on this video. So with all that said, I'll get into the content. A lot of people I come across think companies that are bigger than them, like big corporations or chains with tons of different locations and therefore have money to actually pay somebody to overlook all their locations, can't be beat. And to that I'll add somebody that is in your space that might have gotten funding, like venture funding. They have to burn through that money one way or not. Doesn't matter though, which I'll explain here in a minute. They think though that these companies can't be beat because they have or seemingly they think they have these unlimited budgets to just be up there at the top of Google or just to run their social media ads everywhere flat out, and therefore they get discouraged as to do it at all because they've tried it a little bit, it's not seeming to be working. They think that they just can't afford to do it. They're bigger competitors. They don't know how they afford to be at the top of Google other than they just have a lot of money and so therefore they can do it. It's the total wrong way to be thinking about trying to make your PPC profitable enough to pay for itself, which obviously we still got to pay for itself, but the ads run right pay for themselves. So how much money you have is irrelevant, as is you want to get into the game knowing you always have to lose a little bit of money, generally speaking, starting out, because things, unless you have a really in-demand product or service that's you got a lot of pent-up demand, you're not going to make money instantly. But on a small budget you can make money, and then the money generates more money, which generates more money, and then suddenly you are the big guy with the big budget, we'll just say. Maybe not as big as them, but can afford to keep your stuff running to where it's literally just plastered on the top of Google the whole time. And then people will be wondering how you are able to afford doing it. And same thing with the social media. The best way to run a big ad campaign, in other words, is figuring out how to get the ads to work. Period, bar none. And no matter how much money they have, that in itself doesn't factor into whether or not your ads can work, okay? Because their money and their strategy is two different things. Anybody can beat, and you can carve yourself out a very nice piece of the pie for yourself if your offer that you have, your product or service, is solid or solid enough or similar to, as good as the quality and how the market views what you're offering compared to the big guy that does have the ad budget. I have to throw that in there because obviously if what they're offering is cheaper, better value, higher quality, and it's known to be higher quality by the market as a whole, you're on an unlevel playing field, and they have all that money to spend, but that's still a separate thing. It's hard to win at PPC if you're offering something that's just nowhere near what your competition's offering, and still get it to work. It's just like you just got this major handicap going in that doesn't make it impossible, but makes it significantly harder. On the flip side, if you have something that's just as good as your competition's, and you will always be able to get PPC to work. You can start out small, like I said, and then when it's working, you can build up and just do the same thing that they're doing. It's just a matter of how much work they're putting in. I'll say there's a caveat to that, which is if your competitor is a brand name that's a household name and you're getting into the market and you're nobody, well then that's also another situation where even though your product is as good, there is some chance that you may not be able to always make it work, because what your ads are on the top of Google and they see that brand name there, they're going to click on it 2 or 3 times the rate they're going to click on yours, no matter what your ad says. And it's through strategy alone, sometimes you won't be able to account for that, and may have to go out and sell your product a different way until your brand is known, and then you can do PPC or something like that. So anyway, I'll clarify what I mean by that here, but basically speaking, first of all, I want you to know it's not about specifically the competitor, it's about the consumer. You could forget, so your competitor's PPC strategy is directly relevant to yours, and that you have to beat their strategy, but you beat their strategy not by just spending more, you beat their strategy by having something that's more appealing in the actual delivery and the packaging of how you're marketing it, assuming it's of no different quality of what your competition's actually selling. That is, you make your ad and your landing page more appealing than your competition's. You do that, and you do it also more than basically all your other competitors, you will make money. So the question is, can you make a better ad and a better landing page than your competition? If you can, on a small scale, it will work, and then you could use the money that you have coming in from the profit coming in from that small ad campaign to do a slightly bigger campaign, and then a slightly bigger campaign, and then you're the 500-pound gorilla one day. Nobody starts out generally being the 500-pound gorilla. The ones that you see, by the way, they all started small too. You just didn't see them when they're small and what they did, and them going through this process. But that's how it's basically done. And making your ad and landing page better you don't have to have a Madison Avenue advertising firm working for you to do that. Even if you can't afford a firm, you could do something like this yourself if you wanted to. Or of course, there's plenty of people out there that you could hire that are good. And I'm not talking about the cheapo firms out there that do nothing against you guys watching this, charge several $100 a month for PPC services where your hands are basically tied behind your back and you can't do much for that money, but charge several thousand a month. When you tell them this is what I'm telling you here is what you need to do, should be able to deliver you something without you physically having to work to do it. And you'll be in position to make your stuff work on a small scale so you can scale up and be the big guy one day. So respectively, what you're going to do, you first got to analyze, are you as good as the competition ad and landing page to see if, verify for yourself that what you have, is it profitable and it's not working, and you're not in position to make it profitable enough so you can scale your ads up because of the ad and the landing page quality itself. Okay? Respectively, what you do to do that is you make a few searches for the keywords that you're advertising on, or if you stopped your ads, were advertising on, and you see what you personally would rather click on. So there's 4 ads I'm starting out talking about Google search here, and on Bing search as well. We'll talk about social media advertising. So we're going to start talking about search engine advertising first, and then I'll get into the social media advertising. But respectively, you make those searches for your keywords. You look at the ads that are on the top of Google, and you just see, if I were the customer, what ad would I click on? Which one stands out? If your ad does not stand out, then you know already what you got to do. You got to make the ad stand out. There's a number of different ways to do that, many of which I talk about on this channel, respectively, but such as put numbers in the ad, put on there the keyword that the user's typing in, which I always use on my campaigns, or whatever you need to do to get your ad clicked through more than any of those other ads. Ultimately, just sidestepping what I was going to say here a little bit, ultimately, if your ad click-through rate of your ad and the landing page conversion rate, which I'm going to talk about in a second, is higher than 90% of the other people advertising, which even though there's 4 ads on the top of Google, there's 10 people that are cycling in and out of those spots. If you're in the top 10%, you're basically guaranteed to make money. Why? Because Google charges, they kind of know what the market can bear in terms of prices for the traffic that they have. They slowly over the last 15 years has raised the cost of clicks to the point where they can't find anybody else to advertise. And that's where the market sits, okay? So with that, they kind of want like 20% of the people that are doing the best as far as the ad click-through rate, the conversion rate on the landing page that people use, to make most of the money. And then the bottom 80% either make a little or losing money. And that creates an environment where everybody else that's not making money is trying to do exactly what I'm trying to tell you here today, which is to improve your ad, your landing page, so that you can be the one in the 20% that makes most of the money and makes really good money. And in that position there, it gets the people that are in the top 20% have people nipping at their heels, so they're always trying to potentially improve their stuff, and then the whole ecosystem is improving to make a better and better experience for Google searchers, so that people, when they search, they find an ad that they wanted, and more likely to come back to Google and search and click on an ad again because the last time they had a good experience. So Google, more than anything, more than trying to make money short term, they're trying to get long-term adoption of their product. So as far as when it comes down to the strategy, regardless of how much money your competition has, that's why I say if you can beat their strategy, namely click-through rate on the ad, conversion rate on the landing page, you will always make money, because Google kind of knows at what price the traffic won't be profitable, because the market as a whole has determined that for them. You get more out of the traffic than anybody else, therefore your stuff's going to be profitable, assuming you don't have added cost your competition has to deliver the product or service. And so that's all you really have to do at the end of the day. And with that said, to know you have a better strategy is really easy, because you just look at the ads, you can see what you would click on, and if you don't have it, figure out what your ad, make your ad so 90% of the people want to click on your ad, and you got that part of it solved. On your landing page, you compare your landing page where you're taking people to your competition's landing pages, and would you yourself, if you're the consumer, stay on the page and either respond into a call or form fill or purchase than the other people? And sometimes, because if people, your ego and other people's ego, you can't really tell for sure yourself, even though you're the master of your market. You have to go ahead and have at least 5 other people sit down and see what they would rather click on as far as your ads for a few different key searches, and who they would rather call or buy from on the landing page itself, and let them tell you which ones are best. Ultimately, people that don't know that you're in that business, you hire people that you don't even know, sit them down in your seat, and then have them make these searches and find out which one they would click on as far as the ad, and which one that they would buy from as far as the landing page. Since Google watches every single search for anybody who searches one of your keywords that you want to bid on, they know who has the best ad. They know who has the best landing page, because they can see who, even if nobody has tracking on their landing page, who clicks back to Google and clicks on something else, indicating that landing page was shit. And ultimately, through that study, you can see where you're actually at. And when you're not in the right place, where you can have 5 people and they all click on your ad and they all say that your landing page is the best, you got work to do. You put that work in, you're going to make money. No matter how big those other people are, and how much money they have supposedly to get at the top of Google, I will admit the people that have a lot of money, a lot of times they're not even making money. So you can't say, a common mistake is, oh, they're running their ads so much, they're a big company, they must be making money, I should just copy what they're doing. No. What you want to do is put into frame of reference what's actually going to get you the most click-through rate and the highest conversion rate. Because this is what Google is using to determine what you're going to be charged for a click. And this also obviously determines how many people you're going to get to buy per click. Ultimately, Google rewards the person who has the highest click-through rate on the ad and the highest conversion rate on the landing page, like I said, to encourage an environment where they're rewarding people for serving their users better. So you end up, instead of paying a lot of times $10 per click, you're paying now $3 per click. Whereas at $10 a click, it would barely make any money, but at $3 you're making a ton, or enough to where it's acceptably profitable, and I can scale up my ad spend now. It's all just about getting the small ad spend to work, so you can scale up the budget so it's running non-stop all day long, not just part of the day because you have a small budget. And it's not, so therefore it's not about your competitor, what they're spending, what they're doing. You just need a better click-through rate and a better conversion rate than them, as is all your other competitors' advertising. But that's really all it is that you have to do. They're really that simple. To get the ad click-through rate better, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. You can watch a lot of my other videos about different things that I do. The first thing I always do is I make sure it's what 70% of your competition's going to do or more, is they're going to have all their keywords in one ad group or in a few ad groups. Whereas I'm going to have an ad group for every keyword. Why? When somebody searches for 4 horsepower lawnmower, I'm going to have an ad that says 4 horsepower lawnmowers on it, not lawnmowers for sale. So that when they have to decide which ad to click on that seems like it's going to waste the least amount of time for them, or the least likely to have wasted their time, my ad with 4 horsepower lawnmowers on it, when they search for 4 horsepower lawnmowers, is going to be the one that they click on 90% of the time. That one thing right there will be enough in about half of the markets to make sure your ad's getting clicked on 90% of the time. Beyond that, you figure out what is the one thing that people want the most. Do they want an instant quote? Do they want to know that it comes in a bunch of colors? You got to figure this out, and you put that in the second headline. If you're selling locally only, having the name, and of course if you go to them versus them coming to your store, having the name of the suburb or city name that they're in. So if you're in Dallas as a whole, if they're from Arlington, which is near Dallas, it's in the metro area, having in the second headline, Arlington is the place where you want to have that in your ad, and that'll give you such a major edge in and itself that with the keyword being in the first headline, which is where always I put that, and the specific location they're at in the second headline, my ad is better than everybody else's like every single time. Unless you're competing against in a market that I'm in at the moment or have been in, you're going to be already the default choice of what to click on just from those 2 things actually in a local market. Okay, there's a bunch of other things you can do. Those are the bigger ones that work and get you over the mark most of the time, but you have to figure out what that is. And respectively, you change your ad a few times. If you hire 5 people to watch what they do as far as a case study, and it mess it up, change your ad and do another case study, and just keep doing the case studies until you got the best ad. On the landing page side, okay, or where you're taking them to on the site, respectively, making a better landing page, most people don't have an expert landing page designer to make the landing pages. So just get one of those. A good one will charge a few $1,000s for a landing page, which people think that's absurd to pay that. But do you want to have the best landing page or not? if you have an e-commerce site, where you're taking them to. Ultimately, if you have an ad or a ad group for every keyword, you can hand select the landing page you're taking them to, whether a product page, category page, search results page, and that'll be the one thing that gets you over the mark. But without that, instead of just taking them to a default page on your site, you can take a page on your site, and going back to my previous examples where I was talking about the 4 horsepower lawnmower, when people search for that, if I don't have a page on my site that just has 4 horsepower lawnmowers, I make one. I make a cloned version of the category page that shows all our lawnmowers and put that on another URL, and then just have 4 horsepower lawnmowers showing there. And I have on the headline 4 horsepower lawnmowers. And that's the one thing, because nobody else has, maybe it's not the best in the world design, but because I've made it as easy as possible for that user to find what they're looking for, they'll click back to Google less than anybody else I'm competing against for that keyword, and then I'll end up being over the mark. It really is all determined, speaking of by keyword, it is determined on a keyword by keyword basis. So you don't just need the best ad and landing page overall, you need the best ad and landing page for every keyword you're advertising on. Okay, so you don't, and with that, you generally speaking won't be able to get away with just one ad. One ad for sure you're not going to get by with, but you're also not going to get by with one landing page. For the landing pages, one of my favorite tricks is to take the keyword they typed in. I not only put that in the headline of the ad, but I put that in the headline of the landing page. So, like I just got explaining with the 4 horsepower lawnmowers, that's going to be in the headline of the ad, that's going to be in the headline of the landing page, and then right there, I've beat 90% of everybody else in terms of the click-through rate on the ad and the conversion rate on the landing page just by doing that one thing. If you're offering a tree trimming service, the difference between somebody typing in tree service and then getting to a landing page where the headline of the landing page says tree services Houston, versus if they type in arborist company and having the headline say arborist company on the landing page, your conversion rate will be 40% higher just having the keyword in the headline on your landing page due to that one change alone, and that might be what puts you over the mark. So these are just some simple things that can be done that doesn't take a lot of work that you could apply to your landing page, to your ads, that will get you to that top 10%. Maybe you need a little bit more. You can watch some of my other videos and put yourself over the top that way. I find, without bragging, I think my videos I have on this channel is the best strategy videos as far as PPC you can find anywhere on YouTube or on the web. There's enough there that if you may only need 1 or 2 things, maybe you'll need a few, but you will get yourself in position to be over the top 10% as far as click-through rate and conversion rates on your landing page, not just for one keyword, but all your keywords by using these strategies. No matter how much money your competition has, if you get a funnel at least 2 times as good as your competition, your market will prefer you, as well as Google will prefer you, and you will make money. Google will charge you way, way, way less than everybody else by doing that. Google is also going to want to send as much traffic as they can to you. You'll get more clicks. And you'll get more people to respond and buy through all of this. It all works together. So instead of fighting it and say, I'm not getting much sales, what's a gimmick we can do? Or, can we spend more money? Is that going to work? Start small. Have a target cost per sale or target cost per lead you're looking for, and get that ad better and get that landing page better until you're in that top 10%. Figure out that you are, know that you are, and then you'll make money. At that point, no matter what, you'll be making money. Respectively, of course, it assumes you're always going to make money if your sales process, if you're generating leads and your sales process isn't good, you're not answering all your calls, you're not answering your form fills within 15 minutes, you're not following people up after you've talked to them the first time, you're not, respectively, the product isn't good enough so that people don't come back and buy from you again. When you're in a market where your competition certainly is seeing value out of the repeat purchases they get from the PPC customers that they initially acquire, and you aren't able to get the repeat customers like them, then what I'm telling you also won't be the case, where you're going to for sure make money having the best ad, the best landing page. So there is some other things to this. As far as the offer, as one final note about this landing page thing, the offer, your landing page also can be better than anybody, like the 90% of your competitions, by changing the offer itself. You can throw in, we had a moving company where we threw in free boxes, and that greatly improved the conversion rate of a page. We've had plumbing companies where we said call for special price, and that increased the conversion rate immensely from that one thing alone as well. We don't have to cut into our margins at all doing that. It's just something we said as far as the call to action / offer that spiced up what they're getting without actually having to pay more or give them more in the actual delivery as far as our cost, what it costs to deliver to them. So that's another option for you to make sure you're in that top 10% bracket on the conversion rate side with your landing pages. At the end of the day, most of the time, to get the top click-through rate and the top conversion rate, though, this means you have to have more than funnel, or should I say more funnels than all of your competition, or 90% of your competition. So whereas everybody else, like I said, is going to put a bunch of keywords in one ad group and try to have one ad for everybody and one landing page for everybody, you're going to have an ad group for every keyword, and you're going to handwrite the ad. I don't use dynamic keyword insertion because it sucks. Handwrite the ad so that ad's catered for that exact keyword, and I'm going to take them to a page that's at least have a custom headline for that user, so it looks like it's customized for that person as well. And if I do that for every keyword, I beat my competition because I've catered to my overall audience better by not forcing everybody to look at the same thing. Because your competition's too lazy to do that. They got money, but they don't, they're too lazy to do that. You're going to win now by default, be in that top 10%, and you're going to be able to afford to scale up and spend what they're spending. Even though these big companies you see that are plastered at the top of Google already, they have the money to hire these best, these top PPC people. They may have a big firm. I could tell you, being in the PPC management industry for at least 10 years already, by the time you watch this, even the big companies don't do a very good job with PPC management. It's actually very common that the really big companies, they have really crappy PPC because they'll hire a really big firm, and the really big firms, generally speaking, aren't very good. They're not hungry enough. The small companies, they can't even afford to hire a proper company. It's easy to beat them. But at the end of the day, even though they have the capability to hire someone properly and do like the simple stuff like I'm telling you here to do, by having a separate little funnel, ad, and landing page for every keyword you're actually going to advertise on, they don't do it because they're either arrogant, or they may not know that they need to do it, or they may not know how much it works, or they don't have the time to do it, or whatever. Very, very, very few people are just having a funnel for every keyword alone. And if you do that one thing, most markets, you'll be in that top 10% automatically. Obviously, you can't do it half-assed, but if you put in enough effort to where you think your ad is better than everybody else's for that keyword, given nobody else is probably catered for that exact searcher or search type for that keyword, you're going to win by default. You set yourself up to win by default. So it comes down to, are you willing to put in more funnels than them? And if you can do that, you'll win by default. Now I'm going to get into the social media advertising side of things. Okay, so that's about search engine advertising. Search engine advertising, it's very easy to beat all of your competition, put yourself into a position on a small scale, make your budget profitable, assuming your offer and your delivery is as good as everybody else's, just by having more funnels and catering your funnels closer to what the user wanted for actual individual searches. On the social media side, these people that have huge budgets, obviously they're not blocking you from running your own campaigns, but the fact that they're really pounding their ads, if you're trying to sell to the same people, it's tough to seem like as good of an offer, because when they have their ads showing up more than yours, their stuff's going to seem like a better deal. They may not even be running their ads at a profit, which there's a lot of companies, they don't have the tracking set up right. So even these really big companies that should, so they don't know it's not making money, or the tracking's wrong. A lot of times the PPC agencies don't know how to set up the tracking either. They don't want it to work right because it makes them look better than they are. Sometimes, they have money to burn anyway, so they're going to spend X number of dollars on social media advertising, whether it makes money or not, or until it makes money or whatever. So if they're just out spending you, well, what I would encourage you to do, instead of going head on against them or at them, head on with them, what you can do instead is just go a different direction. I would recommend in that case, here's the thing. A lot of people get pissed that their competitors are doing better than them and they're spending these big social media ad budgets. They're building the market for you, okay? They're getting awareness and top of mind awareness around your product or service. Those people, so therefore more people are going to be buying as a whole from your market because they're doing that. And so what do they do when they're going to buy? So most people, when they see an ad and they click on a landing page on a social media ad, as well as other ads, but respectively, especially with social media ads, because somebody who's on social media, they see an ad that's interesting, they're not in the mood to whip out their credit card and buy right then. They're in their pajamas, they were there to look at family photos, they say, I'm going to do this later, and that's what happens. So later on when they get, or maybe they have to wait to get paid. Later on they wait to, they're paid or whatever, they're going to buy. What do? They go back to Google to buy because they can't find the Facebook ad again. And so therefore they're building up all this demand that you can slide in and get at the last second. So it's actually kind of a blessing in disguise if your competition's doing that, because you could slip in there at the last second and get the sale, and you didn't have to spend all the money to get the awareness for those people. In that case, all the stuff that I just talked about in terms of making your Google search ads better applies. You can have your competitor ads, so like when they type in their brand name or their product name, have your ad show up and figure out how you make your ad so damn good that they just have to click on it. One of my favorites on that is to say something like tired of name of competitor, try the XYZ instead. And they're like, before they buy, I have to see what this is. Like, tired of, what do they mean? And then, or you do, you put the name of their product, only has 4 horsepower. The XYZ, i.e. our product, has 6 horsepower for less price. So as they're going to purchase, they're like, wait a second, they're offering more power for less money? I better check this out real fast. And you'll siphon a certain percentage of those people back to you right before they were going to buy. And you'll clean up on that. So that's one way that you can compete with somebody who has the big social media budget before you have the money to really have your ad budget scaled up and be at the same level as them on social media. So with that said, that's one way to compete against your competitor with the much bigger social budget that's drowning out your social ads. Eventually, when you have the bigger ad budget, you've built up some money to have the big ad budget, then you can go back at it. But usually the competitor ad isn't enough to be able to build up to that level. So the other thing is to say, they're building up all this awareness around your product or service in your market. All these people, again, are just, when they go to buy, and there's going to be a huge percentage who before they buy are going to go through Google. So the amount of people searching to buy, just everyday searches to buy what you have to sell is going to go way up because of those people on social media advertising. So, because ultimately it's the same thing. They find your ad, they think it's interesting, they're not quite ready to buy. 80% of people won't buy right away. Later on at some point, they see a few other ads, they're ready to buy, but they're going to wait to get paid or whatever. Or they weren't quite ready to buy after the first ad, but after seeing a few more of their ads, they are. But they're going to buy on payday, or they're going to buy tonight when they get home from work because they were browsing at work and they can't buy it at work. They go to search for the potato chopper on Google, assuming this is a potato chopper device. Because a lot more people than not actually are not going to remember the name of the product and the name of the company. They're just going to go to Google and they're going to type in potato chopper. And they're going to hope they're going to find it. Because brand names are hard to remember unless they're real catchy. So you have the competitor ad, so if they do remember the brand name, you got low-hanging fruit there for sure. But all these people are going to start searching more the product that you're selling on Google. So before you even go to social media and worry about that, just master Google. And like I said, it's very, very easy to beat any size competition on Google if you just make more funnels, make a funnel for every keyword, and make sure you optimize each funnel so that your ad and your landing page is always more relevant to the user than anybody else's. You'll always make money. The more they then advertise on social media, the more people that are going to be searching for your stuff, and the more your Google campaigns are going to sell. And they're going to sell more and more and more. And it's all off the back of their social media awareness campaigns. Even though they're trying to get direct sales from it, they're building up a major awareness for you. And eventually your Google campaign gets to be profitable enough. You will be able to go on social media and compete head-to-head with them. And that would be the kind of the time that I would go ahead and do it. Since Google's so much easier, just through sweat equity to get yourself in position to make that profitable, and then can scale up a campaign from there, versus on social media when somebody else has a major budget on Facebook going. I'm going to wait and do the social media later. Also, just because Google's easier to get working, quicker generally speaking. Social media, usually you're talking about using lookalikes audiences. That takes time for the algorithm to pick up how to actually find you the right customers and for the right price and that whole thing. So all in all, doing Google and then just pulling in your competition's customers that are going to come through Google anyway to buy before they buy can be that's the go-to for me, and I think should be for most of you guys. Before you go with the massive social media budget, until you've already cleaned up on Google, then you go on your Facebook then afterwards, or LinkedIn or whatever else, YouTube, whatever you're going to do. So as far as that goes, on Google search, if you watch my other videos, every single time I'm going to be doing remarketing on Google Display Network, because that's going to make any of the search ads work twice as well. People that don't do any follow-up, you get literally half the potential out of search ads than if they had really good follow-up, like I talk about on this channel, where you have 5 to 7 different remarketing ads that talk about your testimonials and your reviews and your differentiators of your product or service, and you throw in there like sales that occur to build, get the procrastinators to hurry up and purchase before the week or the month closes, and they're not going to get that extra incentive. And with that, I'm going to do my remarketing on all the social media I can, because social media has such a big impact on the ROI our search campaigns get. We want to maximize that by having the ads go everywhere, so they literally do see it everywhere. Or in case they are only on Facebook, they for sure always see it, so that we get the impact of having the remarketing be seen of what that's going to deliver, and getting the probability of somebody who clicked on a search ad before to work as it does. So I just wanted to throw that caveat in there. I always do, Google search ads, get those to work. As soon as Google search ads are working, I do Bing ads right away, because whatever works on Google works on Bing. But as soon as I kick off the search ads, I'm doing remarketing right away, because how important remarketing is to get this first click search ads on Google, on Bing, to work. And then eventually make enough money, and we're starting to plateau on how much more revenue we can generate with Google and with Bing. Then the Facebooks, the YouTubes, the LinkedIns get pulled in, and depending on what market it is, I'll start out with Facebook or YouTube first. But I'm running our remarketing ads on all these other networks right away, along with the other remarketing we're running through Google and through Google Display Network. Just wanted to also kind of throw that in there as well for you guys to know. You definitely want remarketing going. But that's how you beat bigger competition. It's not about you, it's about the consumer. You can figure out how to beat them with their ads and landing pages, because respectively, people, even the big companies that have the money to hire the best people, don't. And if they do hire the best people, they're too lazy to do it. Just focus on what the user wants. And if you can only do that for a few keywords, start with doing the few keywords, but do it right. Have a handwritten ad for the user for that keyword, and a landing page that, if it doesn't give the user exactly what they searched for, you make a page that does. Make that work. Do it to a few more keywords. Maybe eventually pay somebody to do that over and over again for you for the other keywords. And you'll be in position to where it's making good money, and you could slowly scale your ad budget up, and you're the big guy spending what the other big guy is spending, but you're making more profit than them, because likely, like I said, 80% of people don't make any money, and just because they're the highest spender doesn't mean they're in that 20% that makes all of the money. Certainly, they could be that they're making in that 20% making most of the money. Could be they're not. It really just depends on what that company's policies are internally, on how much time they spend on this stuff, how they plan on doing things, how satisfied they are with the ROI that they're getting, so on and so forth. So that's everything in a nutshell, though. I have a ton of other videos on this channel about other PPC money-making strategies. If you want to see how to make a ton of money with PPC, I definitely encourage you to check them out. If you subscribe to my channel, I have a good couple videos a week that come out with other great PPC strategies on it. I encourage you to do that. If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you would put a like on this video, so we can help other people find the video and help them out a little bit. I'd very much appreciate that. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, like you're struggling even to beat somebody in your market, you're wondering how they can afford to be at the top of Google, let me know in the comments. I'll get back to every single person who comments on this channel, including yourself if you leave me a comment. I have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build PPC campaigns, the way that I build them for our clients here to guarantee the results. If you want to see how things are done more so on a step-by-step basis, you can also find great information there. That all said, I'll leave it with that, and I hope to see you in my next video that comes out another day or two with another great strategy on it. And I'll see you there.